Hello and welcome. In today's video, we're gonna share with you 20 things that we find rock and roll about living in traditional Japanese house. First thing.
Sliding door.
Oh, and do you see this demon behind me? What's that, honey?
This is a guard. Protect house from bad things.
Thank you, demon protecting our house. Next thing is this huge room at the entrance of the house. What is that, honey?
This is a guest room. If guests come, we can drink tea this table.
This table. But this looks like a waste of space. It looks like an extra room just when you enter our beautiful Japanese countryside house. But we think it's quite rock and roll because we can dance here, right?
Yes, we can dance here.
Okay, let's find next things that we find pretty much rock and roll about this house. Next thing we find pretty much rock and roll is what is behind me. What is that, honey?
This is a 仏殿.
And what are we doing here? Every day we come here and we pray.
Pray.
Next thing we find pretty much rock and roll in our traditional Japanese house is, I think we don't have even one chair in this house.
No chair. Zabuton only.
What do you think? We find it pretty much rock and roll. You wanna work? There is no chair, nothing to lean on. But we love to sit on the ground, and in this case, we can find a place everywhere.
Everywhere. Next things we found rock and roll. It's shoji.
This is shoji. And shoji is an extra door in traditional Japanese house to let the light in. Next thing we find pretty much rock and roll in our house is,
Tatami.
what is tatami?
Tatami is like this, made of
Hay.
hay.
I told you we don't need chairs in our house anywhere because we have tatami floor.
We can sleep here.
Yes. Another rock and roll thing in our house is,
Washlet. Japanese toilet.
what is Japanese toilet?
Japanese toilet with shower for asshole.
Pretty much rock and roll.
A lot of button.
Another thing pretty much rock and roll in our house.
Japanese bathtub. It's deep.
How deep?
Almost die.
And then in Japanese baths, we also have a mirror. I don't know if you know, but I find it pretty much rock and roll to look at myself when I wash myself everywhere. What do you think?
Nice rock and roll. Nice rock and roll.
Another pretty much rock and roll thing in our house, Japanese traditional house, is heated mirror.
Heated mirror.
One more rock and roll thing about our Japanese traditional house is,
Rice cooker. Every house there is a rice cooker in Japan.
pretty much rock and roll.
Pretty much rock and roll.
Eating rice 3 times a day? It's no longer an issue if you have a rice cooker. Have you ever been hungry in your life? In Japan, you will always keep your slim waist because of all of the
Dishes is small.
all dishes small.
Yeah.
If you want to lose weight,
Come to Japan.
another pretty much rock and roll thing about our Japanese house is
Japanese tea.
Yes, in Japan you drink green tea on every meal of your day. ありがとうございます。美味しいです。
美味しいです。
Every morning at 3 a.m. we have a newspaper boy that comes with
Newspaper 3 a.m.
3 a.m. newspaper boy comes with a newspaper.
with advertising.
Digital forms, forget about it in Japan because there's still paper forms everywhere with this huge newspaper.
Yes, Japanese loves newspaper. Every morning we read a newspaper.
Pretty much rock and roll. Pretty much rock and roll, don't you think so?
Yes.
Another pretty much rock and roll thing I find about our house is this guy wearing kimono every day with a fan.
Yes.
Does he look like a samurai?
Rock and roll samurai.
Rock and roll samurai, yes. Another thing we find pretty much rock and roll about Japanese traditional houses.
Japanese garden. This is matsu. This is a stone.
We love Japanese garden. We find it pretty much rock and roll. Can we meditate here?
Yes.
And what do you say when you pray in Japanese?
Namu Amida Butsu.
Pretty much rock and roll. Another thing that we find pretty much rock and roll about our Japanese traditional house is
Farm. Every morning we can pick eggplant for miso soup.
thank you, honey. Pretty much rock and roll, isn't it? Another thing I find pretty much rock and roll about living on the countryside of Japan is
Behind the house there is a small river.
it's a rice river.
Rice river. Every morning we can wash our face with this water.
Pretty much rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll.
Last thing I find pretty much rock and roll in our house is actually a Polish woman living here, far away from Poland, in faraway Japan. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please
Subscribe. Comment for part 2.